babes. I've been going live on every platform, but I've got to tell you that I go live, or I don't go live, but I watch YouTube every day. So today I wanted to talk about Wednesday. Wednesday, and how we choose to see things. So when I'm talking about Wednesday, I'm talking about WIN, dollar sign, because some people are trying to get the dollar. That's a winner thing today, and day. It's not always about winning dollars, though, is it? Because it's connected with our mind and our brain. And so, in this mind brain connection, is that sometimes when we think in our perceptions about winning and losing, right? So, I was on Facebook Live this morning and we're, talking about this. And, one of the things that I was saying is that sometimes when people think in like these extremes, this dualistic view, that sometimes, that if I'm winning, somebody else has to be losing. And that if I'm fearing somebody else is winning, then my fear is I'm losing. But the reality is that we all get a turn. Everything that ascends descends. Everything that rises it falls. Is that we do live in this polar universe. And so living in this polar universe, we're all going to get a turn. That everybody who's won was once a loser, once lost, and that's how we learn. We can look at losses as experiences. And so when we look at winning and losing in terms and how we create, I've talked a lot about intention and motivation. That's what I work with people on. Again, my name is Stacy Renee. I'm a transformational mindset coach, mindset shift coach. So if any of this, relates to you today and you would like some help, changing your mindset, because I've shared lately, part of my YouTube journey is watching people focusing on what I do want. Because focusing on what we want is usually what we consider our win when we get it, right? But when we look at our intention and motivation of our why are we doing? Why do we want what we want and all of these? So we look at our brain and our mind, not realizing that there's a difference in which is which. And so I've been studying on here on YouTube neuroscientists like Carolyn Leaf, who talks about our she's actually a neurophysicist, who talks about our neural pathways and how our thoughts affect our bodies. But there's also another one that I'm listening to is Tara Swart. And she's also talking about how powerful our minds are and with our bodies. She mentioned in an interview that I just watched about the book, The Body Keeps Score, which I've mentioned also too. And how that affects our realities, our perceptions of our wins and our losses. And so in listening to these women and studying them and, Carolyn Leaf explaining the difference between our brain and our mind. And then the combination of them both gives me the information that I want to portray back to you, so it's nothing that I come up with. So do you remember, this is just my own, what I train and help people and coach, but I have to learn different things too, is I don't just know things. None of us just know things. And a lot of times people are respected just because they go to school. But then there's also the life experiences that you want to have. So when we think about, a lot of us don't even think about, when I say when we think about, is our chemical secretions in our body. This is why your body keeps a score, is it because when you see, hear, touch, taste, smell certain things, the objective senses. So there's 5, but then Tara Swart was saying there's actually in her studies 34. This talks about the unlimitedness of us, and I don't know how or understand how they work. Personally, I would, right now, in the knowledge that I have, I would think that the 5 senses that we have feed into the other, because it's also in our neuromuscular. Everything's neurologically connected, which is connected to what? Consciousness is connected to the electromagnetic field. I love and respect so many doctors. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who talks a lot about the electromagnetic field and how neurologically we are connected to this. The gravity. When we can't walk, we understand the gravity of things. So it's oftentimes until we don't have what we have that we try to understand. But being proactive and learning how to understand these things so we don't feel like what? A loser. So This is what I work with, is how our mind and our brain are connected. But for me, I'm also a holistic coach. So how is this connected to our winning and our losing? So when I was speaking this morning, sometimes things just roll from my higher source because I don't have that divine intelligence. So, but though connecting to our higher mind, our higher intelligence, because we can have knowledge and we can have wisdom. And understanding that knowledge and wisdom are two different things, just as our brain and our mind are two different things, which our ego and our soul is two different things. Our ego comes from our knowledge and our brain, because what we've seen with our objective senses, these five senses, have given us our knowledge that we store. This is where we have our storage. So when we see, hear, touch, taste, smell something, we have a thought about it. This is where our thoughts come from. This divine intelligence I'm talking about, though, this divine connection, consciousness, comes from our soul. This is our soul connection. Now, in working with chakras, and some people, hear me out. This is your neural pathways. This is in connection with possibly those 34 senses that she's talking about. Because I do believe in the chakras and the neural pathways and all of this. So the chakras, and it's okay if you don't believe, but just hear me out. Everything that you see, touch, taste, smell, all of that transmits down your throat. Everything that ascends, descends, everything that descends, ascends. So this is going down your throat. The things that you say come from that computer in the back of your mind. Good morning, good morning. So that computer in the back of your mind, let me put my glasses on so I can see who's here. I've been talking for a bit, Victor. Thank you for jumping on here and talking with me. Hello. So I'm talking about our mind and our brain and how that affects our body and how that affects our winning and our losing, as it's Wednesday and it's all about perception. Winning is all about perception. It's not really the actual fact of I won and I lost, because it's also about experiences. So all of our thoughts feed down our neck, down our glands, which affect our body, our chemical releases, and our neck. It feeds down our neck, down into our organs, our skeleton, cerebrospinal. We have cerebrospinal fluid that surrounds our brain. So our mind is our higher thought. That's the wisdom. The wisdom is connected with our soul personality. Perhaps the soul has those Akashic records that we talk about. You don't have to believe in Akashic records. I'm just saying this is our infinite intelligence. This is the intelligence that we don't understand. And when I'm listening to the neuroscientist and the neurophysicist and understanding that we have this divine intelligence, that half of us, we observe, we have our thoughts going on all the time, but do we observe our thoughts? Our why and our why and everything else. And this is why our intentions and motivations, that's connected with our intentions and our motivations, is our why. Why am I doing this? Because a lot of times people perceive winning and losing as just as this person's winning and I'm losing, or I'm winning and they're losing, that it has to be an either or. But we like experiences. So when we're connected with the soul and the infinite wisdom and the divine intelligence, it's just about the experiences. Why we're doing what we're doing, not who is driving us to do what we're doing. Because I know that sometimes people think if they're winning, I must not be winning. And in an unlimited universe, unlimitation means that they can be winning and I can be winning too. And this is what I try to promote here, is the unity. Is that we don't have to feel like somebody's winning and I'm not, or that I'm winning and they're not. Because that's not what I think that is intended for us in consciousness. I don't think that's coming from, that's just, knowing and fear. That's fear-driven, which is with the ego, which the ego is good, because the thing is when we know our intentions and motivations, instead of running on the fear, that's more healthy for what we're releasing through here. But we understand why we're doing what we're doing, and it's not based on what they're doing. See, because you can't win personally if you're trying to win based on what they're doing. I can't win if I'm focused on if somebody else is winning, and then I'm trying to manipulate my way around that. I just keep doing what I'm doing because that's what I do. And so this is winning because this makes you authentically you. So it makes me authentically me. Whether somebody notices me or not, it's that I'm not bending myself into a pretzel to get what I've got. Is that I know that what I created from whatever I perceive to be my source, my consciousness, my vital life force, my reason, my purpose for being here. And so my purpose for being here has nothing to do with focusing on what someone else is doing with their winning. Is that I know that I am winning. I've worked with people with weight loss, and a lot of times this I am is your consciousness. It's your ego. As Laura Day puts it, I read and study a lot of things. And the I am is connected to your ego. Like I said, the ego is not all bad. A lot of people think ego is bad. And it is because it's based on fear. If you're basing your ego on fear, if you're using your ego for fear driven, it could be bad. But you know what? Everything's bad until it's not, and everything's good until it's not. So it's coming from non-judgment. That's what makes us winners. It's coming from non-judgment. Not judging somebody as better or worse, less or more. That's where humility is in the harmony of knowing we are all, that somebody else can help me. They don't have to be hurting me. I don't have to perceive it that way. So being able to take control of our perceptions is power, and that is winning. And sometimes we're going to feel bad. I talked about this yesterday on Instagram and TikTok. Sometimes divine order feels bad. But getting in our clear consciousness of our why we're doing what we're doing, the intention and motivation, knowing that it's for the greatest good of all, not just for the greatest good of me, not just for the greatest good of you, but for all, that we learn to negotiate instead of compromise ourselves. Because a lot of times, maybe we feel like people think winning is compromising me, or that I may feel like I've got to compromise me to win, to make somebody else happy. But see, when we learn to communicate, we learn the art of negotiate. And so this is all that I wanted to come with you today to help you understand what makes you a winner. Because we all get a turn, darling. We all get a turn to lose. We all get a turn to win. I can guarantee you some of the biggest winners that you see, the athletes that you see on TV, have lost. So what they do with the loss, they learned how to win. And that's what I'm just encouraging you to do, is not to be down on yourself today, to remember that the I am creating this because I want. And to know that, you're not conquering, not coming from a place of conquering people. You are just conquering the limited thoughts you had yesterday that you didn't know that you could do today. And that's the thing that gives us our drive and our motivation and intention is, wow, look, I did this, so I can do that. It's not that I'm unhappy with this. I'm really enjoying this. I have a lot of gratitude for this. It's not, yeah, but. It's like, also, I can, And knowing that this is an unlimited universe. There's no plateau to winning, to where you can grow. There's no plateau. I mean, we all have our own limitations. We all know that, I'm not going to be 30 again. So we be realistic, okay? We are realistic. Learning about unrealistic and realistic expectations. See, sometimes when we have a desire to disappear, we can slip off into fantasy. Or we can over-ruminate about what's not. But just stay in today. What can you do today? Even one thing that you can do today that would call you a winner. Because you are. You have conquered other things or you wouldn't be here. So I want to thank you once again, Victor, for being here this morning. Anybody else who gets to see this later. And I do hope that this is helpful. I do not buy my wins. So one of the wins that I get is when I get to see a new person subscribe, to know that this resonated with you and that you too are on this journey just to as we make our own selves better, we make the world a better place. Because as we give ourselves permission to recognize our losses and our wins and to grow from them, intentionally, then we're helping the universe. We're helping the world become a better place. And that's what I'm trying to create here, authentically, genuinely, letting you know that you are enough. So if you could just subscribe to this to let me know that that bird just spit me, that you are enough. It's actually time for the bird and I to have breakfast. So I'm going to get off of here, and I want to thank you so much for those of you who watch this later. Thank you, Victor, for watching it now. And it may seem like one, Victor, but you are important. And anybody else who watches this, I want you to know that you are important, to just guide your intentions and motivations. What do I intend to do for the greatest good of all, myself included, not in either or, of all. So I hope that you enjoy your blessings and miracles and gifts, big and small. Thank you. Bye. I'm going to make it stop. There we go.